Hello, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. As always, no generative AI was used in the production of this video, and again, as always, sources will be provided in the description down below. The game for today is Stormworks Build and Rescue. All right, that said, let's get into it. Today, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite airplanes, the Beechcraft V35 Bonanza. I genuinely love this airplane so much. My grandfather had one. I have a model of one sitting on my desk, and I just think it's such a fascinating and distinctive aircraft. So, with that said, let's get into the video. I'd like to start by talking about the early development of the aircraft. So, with that said, let's get into it. After World War II, the general aviation market in the United States absolutely exploded. I mean, it was just insane. This led to an increase in demand for modern general aviation aircraft, and two companies absolutely sprinted to meet that demand. Those two were Beech Aircraft Corporation and Cessna. Early on, the V35, which I will refer to for the remainder of the video as the Bonanza, had to compete with the Cessna 195. Now, the Cessna 195 was powered by a 300 horsepower seven cylinder radial engine and featured a high wing and fixed tailwheel landing gear. On the other hand, the Bonanza had a much less powerful 185 horsepower six cylinder engine with a retractable tricycle landing gear. That being said, the Bonanza also had a little brother, the Model 33, with a conventional tail design. And I'll be calling this the Debonair, as that's what it was originally marketed as. Ralph Harmon designed the Bonanza to be unlike any other aircraft. It was a low wing, all aluminum aircraft, and it was blazing fast, boasting a top speed of, at the time, about 170 miles an hour. Most of all, though, it opted for what are called rudder vaders, which are control surfaces that act as both rudders and elevators, which meant that it had to have its signature V tail. In 1947, the Bonanza and Debonair both received their airworthiness certificates, and 30 to 40 were initially produced with fabric covered flaps and ailerons. Those were eventually covered in magnesium. The Bonanza was developed as kind of a premium version of the Debonair, although many of the features that were available on the Bonanza, like leather seats, better instrumentation, were also available as options on the Debonair. When you think about this, think about like the Bonanza as a BMW M3 and the Debonair as like a 340i. So similar car, just not as nice. Now I'd like to get into some of the history of the aircraft. So during its production run, the Bonanza earned its infamous reputation as a forked-tailed doctor killer because many of its buyers were overconfident, wealthy amateurs. Think of like, well, doctors, lawyers, congressmen. In-flight breakups were also attributed to a very small portion of these crashes. In fact, an AOPA investigation found that for the Bonanza, 73% of the crashes were pilot error and 15% were aircraft related, whereas for the Debonair, the figures were 83% and 11% respectively. Especially in the early days of service, the Bonanza experienced an unusually high number of gear up landings and accidental ground retractions. I can actually attest to this because I know of a few people in my life who have had issues with a Beechcraft Bonanza's landing gear. But this was caused by a non-standard gear lever that was very, very easily mistaken for the flaps. I'll see if I can find a picture of it to put up on screen. And starting in 1984, that switch was relocated, and models were equipped with a squat switch, which prevents gear retraction when the aircraft is on the ground, and it was also equipped with a system to prevent gear retraction at certain throttle settings. In the year 1982, production of the Bonanza ended, but it still could not catch a break. So eventually, the in flight breakups caught the eye of every pilot's favorite three-letter agency, the FAA. After rigorous wind tunnel testing, it was determined that certain conditions could render the Bonanza non airworthy. In 2003, the FAA issued an airworthiness directive to strengthen the tail. AD 94 20 04 RI for anyone interested. It will also be down in the description, but it is a PDF. Beech, like usual, claimed that it was improper operation, which caused the aircraft to be operated well outside of its flight envelope, but the statistics do say otherwise. NTSB reports indicate an average of 3 structural failures per year for the Bonanza, while conventional tail versions had only 11 failures over the same 45-year period. many of these failures happening in VFR, IMC, thunderstorms, or icing. It just sounds like Beechcraft trying to cover themselves to me, but that's just my opinion. Another issue with the Bonanza is that it had a very narrow center of gravity envelope. This was mainly because its V-tail design was highly intolerant of imbalance, and even a minor repainting could cause this imbalance. The imbalance would result in a dangerous aeroelastic flutter, which for those of you like me who have no idea what that actually means, aeroelastic flutter is an unstable structural oscillation in which energy from the airflow is lost to the oscillation. If I can find a good video, I'll put it up on screen. But basically, what that would look like is when you see jets getting to go really, really fast and their wings start to shake up and down, that's what that looks like. Another problem with the tail is the anodic nature of magnesium, meaning that it can act as an anode, which caused corrosion. This corrosion grounded many V-tails permanently, and it was only fixable by replacing the skins or, in some extreme cases, replacing the entire empennage completely. The American Bonanza Society, which I would recommend you go check out, issued a $500,000 reward for aftermarket replacement skins under a supplemental type certificate, but to my knowledge, no one has come forward yet. That being said, many owners still see it as safe enough, which honestly I would too. It's my absolute dream plane. And the conventional tail models are still technically in production. The Model 333, which was the Debonair, continued until 1995, and the slightly lengthened version, the Model 36, is actually still ongoing, although as of November 2025, new orders will no longer be fulfilled, and the production is solely to fill back orders. And once that's done, production will cease forever. Due to their advanced age, an airworthiness directive was also issued in Australia, but that was limited to replacing frayed wires, so I don't think that's actually worth touching on. So, in conclusion, the Bonanza has been one of the longest running aircraft and is an absolute classic. It's my dream plane. And although it's disappointing that production will end, that means it'll be cheaper on the secondary market, and it's important to focus on the positives rather than the negatives. And make sure to like, subscribe, and I have videos on my Instagram for you to check out.